Yo, what is poppin', my guys? It is your boy Ashley, and today we are bringing y'all our March Madness team, which is pretty cool. For those of you that don't know, March Madness is a tournament thrown by the token minorities that is an 8-man draft. You draft in pools of 10, then they randomize everything. There's like 200 something battlers in here, which is insane. And once you draft your team of 8, you get randomized into pools of 5. You play the other 4 opponents, and whoever has the better record, the top 2 in the pool, move on to a bracket tournament. So this is super exciting. I actually made it in as an alternate. Thankfully, they decided to expand how many people were in the tournament. And well, let me tell you guys, I am pretty excited to use my team. Now, I don't think it's the best team I've seen so far in March Madness. There's definitely other teams that I'm surprised they're so well rounded. It just, there just had to be people that weren't picking. Like, I know, for example, a lot of the teams in my division were pretty solid, because I think there was 4 dudes that all got skipped more than twice even. I think there's a couple dudes that got skipped a lot. So it really enabled me and some of the other people in our pools to kind of pick whatever we wanted to, which was super nice. Now, I picked up one single Pokemon that I have ever used before. 2, I guess. Yeah, I picked up 2 Pokemon that I've ever used before. And so that means that 6 out of my 8 Pokemon are going to be random. Obviously, I'm going to try my best to get as far into this tournament as I can. But I was really using this as an opportunity to try out some of the offensive threats and defensive tanks that I've been looking at in League, but never really felt confident enough to pull the trigger on, like if they were worth where they were ranked. So without further ado, we are going to hop right into it and talk about it. Now, obviously, first up, as you can see on your screen, I had to pick up Blacephalon. Now, this thing wasn't even in the top 3 tiers, I think, because this is a I think it's called PPL style, I'm not sure, but basically the one where it starts off at, I think, 18 or 19 points and then goes all the way down to mons that are worth 1 point, which I really like the flexibility. I really like the flexibility that this offered. I think it might be a little overwhelming for an 11-man draft, but I think for an 8-man draft, this kind of style works an 8-mon draft, this style works very, very well, because I feel like a lot of people, even though you might have gotten sniped once or twice, everyone kind of seemed to find what they wanted, because you can kind of work your way through points a lot easier than you can through 5 solid tiers. So this mon was, I think, 15 points. Obviously, it is such a powerful Pokemon. 107 speed outspeeds a lot of the metagame. 151 special attack is absolutely bonkers. And 125 attack is definitely nothing to scoff at. Now, I like that this mon has knockoff. Honestly, the attack, if it didn't have knockoff, I really wouldn't care at all about the attack. But the fact that it has knockoff is a huge advantage, because it can knock off Eviolite from things like Chansey. It can knock off leftovers from defensive mons trying to switch into it, such as like Alola Mola or anything of that nature. And once that Beast Boost is up, can absolutely get rolling, as well as having access to moves like Flame Charge. Even a Scarf set can really put in the work, or a Spec set, seeing as it does have really solid speed tiering. I'm just such a huge fan of this Blacephalon, and I really was always so scared to pull the tier 1 trigger on it, and I'm hoping to see that I can do that in the future. I didn't mind spending turn 1 pick on this, because, at most, I'm spending still like 10 games, maybe, which is still less than a regular season. And if it's bad and I don't play well with it, then I only have to play with it for like 4 games. So just really wanted to, that's the mindset for a lot of these picks. We're going to go ahead and look at my next one. So I really wanted a threatening offensive core on this team. Defense was kind of a secondary thought as far as my picks went, and you'll definitely see that in my next pick, which is Superior. Now, I really like Superior because 113 speed is absolutely fantastic. It outspeeds a lot of the Draft League metagame. There's obviously mons that are going to be able to outspeed it, but it's weird stuff like Excelgor and Tapu Koko and all sorts of stuff that I either have switch-ins to or are not very threatened by, or it's not very threatened by. Obviously, Contrary is the ability I'll be using literally 100% unless I decide to bring some sort of cheese Swords Dance bullshit or whatever, I'm definitely going to be running Overgrow. The amount of power this thing puts out is absolutely insane once it gets that first Leaf Storm off, and his defenses are actually really solid because of a Leech Seed subset really puts in a lot of work with this thing sometimes. Such a huge fan of just the ability to boost its special attack with Leaf Storm, and basically just pairs Blacephalon with a very offensive. With another offensive threat. Basically both of those mons with the right Pokemon down can put in metric tons of work against the team. If you get rid of that Steel type or that Fire type, this Serperior is going to put in the finest of work. Now you got a bulky Ice type, guess what? We have Blacephalon. Oh, you got a nice bulky Water type to block up Blacephalon, boom. Here comes Serperior. So I feel like offensively they back each other up very well, and I really don't have that much more to say about it. My next pickup was one that I really wanted to grab a water. I really wanted to complete. I wanted to have a top tier Fire, Water, Grass core, because I feel like on any given one of my teams, that's the weak point, is either I have a weak Fire type, a weak Grass type, or a weak Water type. So I wanted to see what it felt like to have a very solid Fire, Water, Grass core. I wanted a Pokemon that was able to tank the Ice type attacks not named Freeze Dry aimed at Serperior, and also the Fire type attacks. I wanted something that would be able to handle knockoffs going into the Blacephalon slot. I wanted something to be able to handle Scald, and what I landed on for all of the answers above was Manaphy. Now you might wonder, how was Manaphy a switch in to knockoff? Well, not always. It isn't always, but we did make Manaphy our 1Z user for the tournament. So Z Manaphy is going to be able to take a knockoff that's coming at that Blacephalon slot, and it seems like every team at this point, it would be hard to not have a Pokemon with knockoff on your team at this stage in the game. So many Pokemon get it, especially with the reintroduction of move tutors, etc, etc. It's always nice to have one of these super nice base 100 Pokemon on your team, because they can put in an absolute ton of work. Now Manaphy is special in the sense that it gets the ability to set up the Tail Glow, and also, if you can pop off that Z Rain Dance, you are not only going to be outspeeding a lot because you'll be +1 with a base 100 speed, but you will also have access to hydration, which means if you get Scald Burned or Toxic or Paralyzed or any of that sort of thing, that's just going to heal right off. So obviously it's not a cleric for the whole team, but this mon in particular does a lot to handle the threats coming at Blacephalon and Serperior. It's not always a nice knockoff check, but it can be. It can tank a Thunder Wave or a Toxic or a Scald Burn, provided that it has the ability to set up a Rain Dance on the Pokemon that it comes in on. I just am a huge fan of how it synergizes with the team, especially as a Z user, because it is just such a threatening Pokemon. It has the ability, like, Blacephalon can use the Z move to set up, but it doesn't. It's a little bit too flimsy. Like, it can easily be taken out by a one-hit KO, like by a lot of different Pokemon. Like, it really is not the bulkiest mon at all. Like, I think if we can go back and look at it, it's got 53 HP with 53 defense and 79 special defense. So that's not going to be taking a ton of hits. So even if you do kind of get a little bit of setup up, like with a Z Sunny Day or something, it's just not. If you don't get the prediction right, you could just go down and waste the Z Sunny Day. Manaphy is bulky enough to take advantage of being able to set up with the Z move, or being able to set up without a Z move and fire off a ×3 Watrinium Z or Buganium Z or any of the insane move pool that it gets. I mean, Psychic, I don't know, I'm not gonna scroll through and show you every single move Manaphy gets, but its move pool is incredibly diverse. Now, I wanted something that was gonna be a nice bulky Pokemon for my team. I don't have any sort of hazards at this point. I do have Defog on Serperior, which is really nice, but with these three breakers in particular, I really wanted either Rocks, Spikes, or Toxic Spikes, and so I decided to pick up the Nidoqueen. Now, the reason I love Nidoqueen is because it is overall bulky, 90 HP, 87 defense, and 85 special defense is not bad, especially with the combined ground poison type. It can easily handle something like Tapu Koko, which, as you guys know, is a huge threat in League format and guaranteed picked up by every single Like, if there was a draft pool out there that did not pick up Tapu Koko, I'll show you a draft pool full of dudes that are gonna lose, because it is such a good mon in the format, and I think Nidoqueen does a great job of taking it down. It either forces Tapu Koko to run HP ground, I think. Yeah, it forces Tapu Koko to run HP ground, because if it does run HP ice, it's going to do a little bit of damage, but definitely not enough to take it out. And a earthquake or a poison jab off that base 92 attack is really going to put in a lot of damage. However, as you can see, it does have sheer force, so that's going to increase the power of moves' secondary effects by 30%, and Life Orb recoil is ignored. So this is a nice bulky defensive Pokemon, but with that sheer force, it has the ability to really put in the work against an opposing team. I will ignore the secondary effects, obviously, so we won't be getting any poison jab poisons, but this thing is going to be a great Tapu counter, especially since Tapu Lele is banned. It's going to come in on pretty much any, I mean, obviously Tapu Fini is a little bit of an issue, but with the proper scouting and everything, I don't really see it being a problem, especially since Manaphy can come in on it, and Wallet, as well as some of my Pokemon later on in the draft. So really love Nidoqueen, love the ability to set up Stealth Rocks, really love the ability to set up Toxic Spikes, love the ability to take up Toxic Spikes, because one of the advantages to having a poison type in the 8-mon format is that typically with the 8-mon format, you either have a good defogger or you have a lot of okay defoggers. And not to spoil the rest of the draft or anything, but I find myself in the latter category of just having a couple of mons that are decent at defogging, but it's not really, they're not well suited to using that. So having a way to get rid of Toxic Spikes without needing to defog or Rapid Spin is huge for my team, especially since, as you'll see later, staying around the longevity of this team is a little bit important. So I guess I've said enough about Nidoqueen and its fantastic coverage and bulk. We'll move right on to my next Pokemon that I drafted, which is mega-altaria. So obviously it just gets a decent speed tier. It's at 80. I mean, it's outsped by a ton of the metagame, but it's access to the move Dragon Dance and intense 110 across the board attack, defense, special attack, with a, you know, slightly less but definitely still great 105 special defense. This thing is a bulky all-around attacking, I don't know, man, I'm a huge fan of this Pokemon. Dragon Fairy is a absolutely disgusting offensive type combination as well as defensive type combination. Obviously still falls over to poison and ice moves, but its decent bulk allows it to probably tank one or two of those at least, as long as it isn't stab. And access to stuff like Earthquake, Fire Blast, Pixelate having return. Man, I'm such a huge fan of this Pokemon. It can also set up Cotton Guards, I believe, and make it really defensive. It gives us a Heal Bell user. I'm not sure if it gets access to Wish. I'm actually going to check real quick. It does not. So, I don't mind that. For some reason, it looks like a Pokemon that would get Wish, doesn't it? But anyway, it does get Heal Bell, which is, I can't remember if I said that or not. Heal Bell is absolutely fantastic for the team, because obviously something like a Thunder Wave on the Blacephalon, or a Toxic, or a Thunder Wave on the Superior, like those are two of my elite fast options for the opponent. So this is more of a setup Pokemon. Like, this is a bulky Pokemon. It can come in on a lot, like the fact that it can come in on these water type attacks, it can come in on electric, it can come in on, you know, obviously all the stuff that Dragon resists. And I think it also gains a bug resistance with Fairy too, as well as a fighting resistance. So this thing really just serves a great, nice, bulky role on the team. It does get access to Roost, allowing it to heal up. So this is just a nice, versatile mon for the team that is able to sit around, set up, or just start laying out some damage out of the gate. So just to recap real quick my team, we have Blacephalon, Superior, Manaphy, Nidoqueen, and Altaria. So we have a little bit of bulk, right? But we still have 3 picks left. We have 1 physical attacker. I mean, Nidoqueen is somewhat of a physical attacker, but is going to be playing the defensive role more often than not. Manaphy, Superior, and Blacephalon are all superior special attackers. Blacephalon can attack offensively, but it's just not going to hit nearly as hard, and it's physical move pool leaves a lot to be desired. Superior does get access to Swords Dance, but you have to be running non-contrary, and still, it is really not that strong. I mean, Superior's, I guess it's the same as its special attack, but it doesn't allow you to deal damage while setting up, so it's a little bit more risky and a little bit less advantageous than the special side. Typically, unless they have something like a Chansey, you have no reason to be trying to use a physical Superior. But I wanted something that was going to help bulk out all of these Pokemon. I wanted to get another defensive kind of pivot, but I saw a Pokemon that caught my eye. I saw a Pokemon who, support-wise, fits this team so well. I mean, almost too well, to be honest. And that Pokemon is a Alolan Ninetales. Yes, we have drafted Orovale. So, I mean, that was one of the main inspirations behind putting Manaphy as a Z-Mon behind the Orovale, because I can use the Hail to set up the Orovale, and then even if, I don't know why I said even if. I can use the Hail to set up the Orovale, then I can sit behind the Orovale and set up Hails, and Z-Rain Dances, and Tail Glows, and just absolutely sweep through a team with Manaphy. I can throw up an Orovale, and I can set up defensively or offensively with mega-altaria. I can get behind a Veil and tank hits and get up hazards with Nidoqueen. I can hit behind a Veil. I can subseed with Superior and start setting up Leaf Storms, getting to +6. I'm using I could even Synthesis with Superior because it does have pretty decent defenses. Blacephalon is still really frail, but can possibly live a couple of hits behind an Orovale, at least enough hits to get the ball rolling on a sweep with its Beast Boost, you know. So I am just such a huge fan of Alolan Ninetales for this team, as well as the fact that it can be an unsuspected sweeper. Its 109 speed is definitely no slouch. It has the ability to run Freeze Dry as well as Blizzard, which will not miss under the Hail, Moonblast, it gets Dark Pulse, Psychic. It has a very diverse move pool, being able to hit a lot of different things, so, and access to the move Nasty Plot. So you can even set up a Veil and then set up a Nasty Plot and start putting in work with Ninetales. It is such a good mon. It gives me a secondary, it gives me Special Fairy, which is nice for those more physical bulky mons that can resist, and it gives me an Ice type. I get Ice Shard with this mon. Obviously its attack isn't great, but if I have if a Blizzard switch in, basically it all depends on the calcs. If I can pick something off with an Ice Shard, it's never a bad bring, because this mon pretty much it gets Encore as well, but basically after Orovale, it gets so many move pools that can fit a variety of different scenarios. I think this is one of the better offensive defensive kind of style Pokemon, because you never really know what kind of set it is until it reveals itself to you. And obviously with stuff like the Hypnosis and all sorts of crazy stuff, it can really put in a ton of work. So now looking at my team, I have Altaria and Nidoqueen as my main physical attackers. I want another physical attacker that's going to be able to put in a lot of work. I actually was looking at picking up Fortress in this spot because it would give me spikes, it would give me a rapid spinner, it would give me a bulky steel type, but instead I opted to try and pick up a nice fat physical threat, and I went with Snorlax. Now Snorlax, this is a Pokemon I am very excited to use, especially underneath an Orovale. So he has the immunity to avoid being toxic down. He's got the thick fat to really tank those hits. He's got Gluttony if I'm trying to run a belly drum set. The possibilities are quite literally endless with this Snorlax. It gets so many ridiculous setup options. It is so fat. And that base 110 attack is really nothing to laugh at either. It is such a powerful mon. When you get a couple of curses up, which it obviously doesn't care about dude with 30 speed, or you can always you can always set up defensively, recycle. Oh my god, it literally gets so many sets. You never know what kind of person, what somebody's gonna be able to bring with a Snorlax, and it's hard enough to take this thing out without an Orovale up. But you get an Orovale up and give this thing 7 turns to start setting up in your face and running recycle with the berries and stuff. it can very easily put in a metric ton of work versus the team. So this is a mon I felt really helps tie my team together. Overall, like, my team was good, but you look at it and you're like, okay, where's the physical option? I just bring Chansey and win. Well, maybe not, because this Snorlax could absolutely put in a ton of work on this team, especially once its counters are gone, which would be like, steel types, which I believe Blacephalon can very easily handle, as well as Nidoqueen, seeing as there are more defensive steel types in the metagame, I feel. And the offensive ones are very easily handled by Blacephalon, because I'm fairly certain none of them outspeed unless they are Scarfed, in which case I can easily handle a steel type with something like Manaphy. But, etc. I have things to counter. And even then, Snorlax has options like Fire Punch, Earthquake. Really super excited to use this mon. It does also kind of keep people away from running Trick Room against me, because as you saw, like, all of my Pokemon were fairly speedy. I think my slowest was Nidoqueen at 76. So dropping this Pokemon down to 30 is super nice, meaning that if someone does want to run Trick Room against me, I am going to get the Veil up, and yeah, it's going to be under Trick Room, but I am going to have a Snorlax setting up and not really caring about your Trick Room at all. And then by the time the Trick Room is out, either being set up enough to where it doesn't matter, or force you to Trick Room again because you have to bank on having something lower than 30 speed. I'm just a big fan of this Snorlax in general. I guess I'll move on to my last mon. So see, with my last Pokemon, I had to decide between a Steel type and an Electric type. However, I only had 2 points left in my draft. Now, I went back and forth for a long time trying to pick up a higher tiered Electric with a lower tiered Steel, or, working it out. And basically, with my need for a physical attacker, I really had to go with Snorlax, and basically had to pick between an Electric and a Steel. I thought about Togedemaru, but picking up Togedemaru would have made me a lot weaker in the physical area, because I couldn't have drafted a Pokemon like Snorlax. I would have had to draft something with a lot less physical attack and a lot less setup possibility. Basically, all of these Pokemon seem to fit well with my plan, and unfortunately my plan does not include a Steel type, because with our last 2 points we pick up Electrode. So I'm super happy with this pick. I actually am a huge fan of Electrode. The team was dog shit, but I did have it on IBA D2 for Season 2. I'm sorry, for D1 Season 2. I picked it up after I took over the team for whoever left, and it honestly surprised me with its ability to do really well. First of all, it helps a lot with Scarfers, seeing as if you looked at my team before, you would see stuff like Superior at 113, you'd see Ninetales at 109, you'd see Blacephalon at like 120 something, I believe. No, 107, I was way off. Yeah, sorry. But essentially, you see all these things and you think, okay, well, I can outspeed this with a Scarf whatever. Enter Electrode at a base 150 speed. This thing is so fast. And this doesn't sound like a positive, but I actually view it as a positive. Its defense and special defense and HP are so mediocre that you really don't lose out by outspeeding Scarfers with the speed stat and throwing the rest into special attack or attack, depending on the set you're running. I know that at 50 attack does look bad, but anybody that plays Gen 1 remembers that this thing does get explosion. So I'm really looking forward to using Electrode, not only as a pivot, using the ability to Volt Switch and throw out things with its pretty solid coverage. It doesn't get the world's best coverage. I mean, as you can see, it's in you, but it does get pretty decent coverage, and some nice utility moves like Magic Code. If we play against somebody with webs, we can lead Electrode and get that Magnet Code off very easily. Magic Code. Obviously we wouldn't use Self-Destruct, we'd use Explosion, but it has so many good options. It's got Thunder Wave, just a trick. Like, basically, people look at this mon and they say, oh, it's fast. Yeah, well, that quickness can give you a lot of the advantage sometimes, because if you can come in and get off the fast Thunder Wave, or you can get in and scare something out and get the Volt Switch and get the momentum back, there are so many different options you can go with this Pokemon that, frankly, I'm super surprised it was rated 2 points. I mean, that's literally said. That's the second worst category is 2 points. And I think that it's a little bit better than that, obviously because I drafted it, but I think this gives my team a lot of speed. It gives me an option to handle some special walls, like if you have something like a Chansey or a Blissey, it could be nice just to, if it is in range, just pull the trigger on the explosion and knock it out. Even maybe running a normal gym or a choice band or something like that, just to knock out a Chansey if I'm going against a Chansey, because obviously Chansey is a huge problem for my team. Seeing as Snorlax and Nidoqueen and Altaria are my only physical options, even though Altaria can be ran both ways. So overall, just to look at the team, oh no, here we go, sorry, there we go. All right, so just to look at the team, we look over here, we'll zoom in. All right, Glacephalion, Serperior, Manaphy Z, Nidoqueen, mega-altaria, Alolan Ninetales, Snorlax, and Electrode. Also, shout out to Ben, my friend Ben. That's his team next to me with the Celesteela, Z Garchomp, Florges, fantastic Fairy Dragon Steel, Infernape, Roserade, Jolteon, Starmie, fantastic Fire, Water, Grass, and Electric type, and Aldino, nice Cleric, nice Wish Passer. Good job, Ben. If you made it this far in my video, I dig it. I dig your team. But as you can see, my team is very reliant on setting up hazards and spamming moves. Now, I don't think it's the best team. Obviously, I mean, even looking at Ben's team, I think Ben's team is way better rounded than mine. But I think my team is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to use it. I don't really care about winning or losing this tournament. I'm just trying to explore new mons and get some experience in, man. Just play with different play styles. I do have Veil in the HBL, but you guys don't know that because I don't upload that league. I might do an HBL the movie kind of thing, like how Gypsy does ITL, but we'll see. It all depends on how much time I have and how willing I am to do it. Anyway, this video is running a lot longer than I anticipated it, so I will see you guys next time. Please let me know down in the comments if you fuck with the team or not. Let me know if you like it, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.